In London, a refuse collector wakes before dawn, hauling bins down wet, narrow streets. His pay for the year? Around £26,000, roughly $33,000. In Madrid, a basurero rides the back of the truck through the early heat. He earns about €18,000, close to $20,000. In Mexico City, a garbage worker runs behind the truck for 10 hours, often surviving on tips tossed from windows. His official income may be $6,000 a year. In Warsaw, a similar worker earns around $11,000. In Bangkok, a sanitation worker collecting the same trash you put out tonight earns roughly $7,000 a year. Now cross the Atlantic. In San Francisco, a garbage collector opens his pay stub. His number? $80,000 a year, and in some cases with overtime far more. Same bins, same trash, same dirty, thankless job. Wildly different paycheck. Let that sink in. An American garbage collector can earn more than a school teacher, more than many nurses, more than a lot of office workers with college degrees. In some US cities, a veteran sanitation worker with overtime clears $90,000, even $100,000 a year. A job with no degree required, no student loans, no corner office, just early mornings, a strong back, and a route. And yet that same job, in most of the world, pays a fraction of that, sometimes a tenth. So how did this happen? Why does America pay this one profession so dramatically differently than almost everywhere else on Earth? That's exactly what we're answering today. Now, your first instinct probably has an easy explanation ready. Americans just work harder. They don't. A garbage worker in Mexico City runs behind that truck for 10 hours in the heat, lifting more by hand for a fraction of the pay. Effort is not the missing ingredient. American garbage collectors are more skilled. No. Hauling trash is hauling trash. A bag of garbage weighs the same in Warsaw as it does in Wisconsin. The work doesn't magically get harder at the US border. Well, everyone in America is just rich. Not true either. America has deep inequality and plenty of people struggling. This isn't a story about a rich country sprinkling money on everyone. And here's the strangest part. The garbage collector isn't paid more because the job is somehow better in America. He's paid more because of a hidden machine built over 100 years. A machine made of strikes, unions, contracts, geography, and a few decisions almost nobody noticed at the time. To understand the paycheck, you have to understand the machine. So let's build it, piece by piece. Collecting waste is one of the oldest jobs in human civilization. As long as people have lived close together, someone has had to deal with what they throw away. But for most of history, that someone was at the very bottom of the social ladder. Garbage work was the job nobody wanted. Dirty, smelly, dangerous, often handed to the poorest, the lowest caste, the most desperate. In the 1800s, as cities exploded during the Industrial Revolution, the garbage piled up with them. And then came the dying, cholera, typhoid, disease that spread through filth and rotting waste. Cities slowly realized something terrifying and simple. Uncollected garbage kills people. Clean streets weren't a luxury. They were the difference between a healthy city and an epidemic. So in the late 1800s, American cities began building organized sanitation departments. In 1895, New York City created a formal street cleaning force, and they wore white uniforms on purpose, to signal that this was about public health. People started calling them the White Wings. For the first time, the garbage man wasn't just a laborer. He was a guardian of the city's health. But the pay? Still low. For decades, sanitation work was steady but poorly paid, dangerous and deeply disrespected. A garbage worker in the early 20th century earned a modest working-class wage. Nothing remarkable. The explosion was still decades away. But the machine was now under construction. So what changed? Why did this dirty, low-status job become a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 career in America specifically? Three forces collided. Force 1, the unions, and a turning point almost nobody remembers. In 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, 2 sanitation workers were crushed to death by a malfunctioning truck. The city offered their families almost nothing. The workers, paid so little that many qualified for welfare while working full-time had had enough. They went on strike. They carried signs with 4 simple words: "I am a man." That strike became a national civil rights flashpoint. Martin Luther King Jr. came to Memphis to support those very workers. He was assassinated there in April 1968. The garbage strike was no longer just about garbage. It was about dignity, about whether the people doing society's dirtiest work deserved to be treated as human beings. And it worked. Sanitation workers across America organized. They unionized in city after city. And union contracts changed everything: higher wages, pensions, health insurance, safety rules, force to leverage, the kind almost no other worker has. Think about what happens when garbage collectors stop working. Within days, a city becomes unlivable. Trash piles in the streets. The smell is unbearable. Disease becomes a real threat. A city can survive a lot of strikes. It cannot survive uncollected garbage for long. That gives sanitation workers enormous bargaining power. When they say, "Pay us more or the city drowns in trash," that is not an empty threat. Everyone has seen what happens when the garbage stops. In New York in the 70s, in Naples, Italy, in countless cities since. You can't outsource it. You can't offshore it. You can't fix it with an app. When your trash needs collecting, you need a human being and a truck, physically, on your street. Force 3. The job got more skilled than you think. Modern American sanitation isn't just lifting bags. Many workers operate complex hydraulic trucks, automated lifting arms, and heavy machinery. They need a commercial driver's license, a CDL, which is itself a regulated, tested qualification. And here's a fact that surprises people. Sanitation work is consistently ranked among the most dangerous jobs in America. Year after year, refuse collection sits near the top of workplace fatality rankings, alongside logging and fishing. Higher danger, on the books, justifies higher pay. Put those 3 forces together and the numbers climb fast. The median sanitation worker in the US earns somewhere in the neighborhood of $45,000 to $50,000 a year. But that's the median. In strong union cities like New York or San Francisco, experienced workers with overtime routinely break $70,000, $80,000, even $90,000. In New York City, a sanitation worker reaches top base pay after just 5.5 years. And that's before overtime, which can add tens of thousands more. Union sanitation workers often receive not just strong wages, but pensions and full health benefits. A complete compensation package that pushes their real earnings even higher. The machine is now running at full power. So why don't wages just come back down? In a free market, high pay should attract a flood of new workers until the price drops. But it doesn't, and that's the most interesting part. The system is locked in. Here's who holds it in place. The unions. Powerful sanitation unions negotiate wages, benefits, and safety standards, and they hold the ultimate bargaining chip: the city's cleanliness itself. Strong contracts keep compensation high, the cities and the contracts. Many American cities sign long-term contracts, either with public sanitation departments or with private waste companies. Those contracts lock in pay scales for years at a time. Wages don't bounce around with the market. They're written into agreements. The barrier of the CDL. Not everyone can legally drive those trucks. The commercial license requirement narrows the pool of qualified workers, and a narrower supply supports higher pay. And quietly, the consumer, you, me, every household and business that needs trash collected every single week, forever. Demand for sanitation never falls. Recessions come and go, but garbage keeps being produced. In fact, the more a society consumes, the more waste it creates. It's one of the most recession-proof jobs in the entire economy. So the high wage isn't an accident or a bubble. It's the stable output of a machine. Essential demand, unmatched leverage, locked behind union contracts and licensing, and impossible to offshore. That's the American garbage collector's secret. Now, the obvious question. If this machine is so powerful, why doesn't it exist everywhere? Let's go back around the world. Because the differences aren't about better or worse countries. They're about different machines. Europe, In places like Germany and Spain, sanitation is a respected public job with solid protections, but the wage ceiling is lower. Why? Higher taxes fund universal health care and pensions, so a chunk of compensation that an American gets as cash is instead delivered through the state. Pay structures are also more compressed, meaning the gap between the top and the bottom is smaller. A German garbage worker is secure and protected, just not earning $80,000. Latin America, in Mexico, Brazil, and across the region, the issue is labor supply and informality. In many cities, garbage collection relies on huge numbers of informal workers, sometimes paid mostly through tips rather than a formal salary. When there's an endless supply of people willing to do the work, and few binding contracts or unions, no wage premium develops, pay tracks the lower local cost of living, and it stays there. Asia. In Thailand, India, the Philippines, enormous populations, lower overall labor costs, and far less unionization in waste work. In some places, waste collection is dominated by an informal army of pickers and haulers. The work is essential, but it's abundant labor with little leverage. No gate, no scarcity, no premium. The cost of living is lower, so wages are lower, and the cycle holds. Notice the pattern. It's not that Americans value garbage collectors more as people. It's that the American machine, strong unions plus high leverage plus licensing, plus high cost of living, plus the impossibility of offshoring, produces a high number. Strip out any one of those ingredients, and the number falls. Each country isn't richer or poorer in spirit. It's just running a different machine, with different unions, different contracts, and different supplies of labor. So step all the way back. This was never really a story about garbage. It's a story about how any society decides what to pay people. We like to believe pay reflects effort, or skill, or how important a job is. But the garbage collector proves something uncomfortable and fascinating. Pay is mostly about scarcity and leverage, not how hard is this work, but how easily can you be replaced, and what happens when you stop. The American garbage collector earns what he earns not because society admires the job, too often it doesn't, but because the work is essential, the leverage is enormous, and the contracts protecting it took strikes, sacrifice, and even blood to win. That's leverage, and it's the same hidden force behind every paycheck on Earth. The surgeon, the software engineer, the truck driver, the influencer, all of them are paid according to how rare and how necessary they are, and what happens to everyone else when they walk away. The garbage collector just makes it visible. He shows us, with a truck and a route, that pay isn't about status or applause. It's about what a society can't live without. And once you see that, you start to see the hidden machine behind every job, including your own. So I want to hear from you. If you're an American sanitation worker, tell us the truth. Is the money as good as people think? Is the danger and the early morning grind worth it? If you're a garbage worker outside the US, what does the job pay where you live, and how are you treated? Respected? Ignored? We genuinely want to know. And if you're someone sitting there right now, quietly wondering whether one of these dirty jobs might actually pay better than the desk you're chained to, this is your conversation. Drop your questions. The people who've done it are reading. Because this channel is about exactly this. The hidden economics behind American jobs. Why a plumber can clear $100,000. Why a truck driver hits 6 figures. Why a nurse in America can out-earn a doctor overseas. Every one of these jobs hides a machine. And we're here to take them apart, one paycheck at a time. So subscribe, and let's keep pulling the curtain back. Same bins, same trash, completely different world. We'll see you in the next one.